But the lights dashing in the city say the system's on the ropes, while the same hands that broke it hold your paycheck and your hopes. They'll sell your sweat for silver, call your sacrifice relief, but every drop of truth we bleed writes another line of belief. Freedom isn't free, it's carved in blood and fire and stone. It's the price of standing tall when they tell you to kneel and go home. They can lock up every promise, tax the air we breathe, but they'll never chain the hearts of those who still believe. 'Cause freedom isn't free. They preach peace from marble towers while they fence off your front yard. They wave a flag made out of rules and call obedience smart. They'll brand your voice as danger, they'll mock your faith as greed, but freedom don't need permission, it just needs men who bleed. Freedom isn't free, it's carved in blood and fire and stone. It's the price of standing tall when they tell you kneel and go home. They can lock up every promise, tax the air we breathe, but they'll never change the hearts of those who still believe. 'Cause freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free, it's written in red on history's page, a warning to the tyrants and the cowards of the age. They can bury us in silence, but the truth still screams. Freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture,
In podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
From red dirt roads to the Capitol steps, Rick's calling truth, no time for regrets.
And welcome into the Tuesday edition, otherwise known as the not Monday day edition of the Rick Robinson Show. That's right. For those of you working for the weekend, you've already survived Monday, so you have one of the worst days of the week out of the way. However, it is election night in America. We're going to be talking about all of that today on this particular program. We're also standing by, waiting for the speaker's press conference to start, and it looks like it just did, so we'll be joining that in progress. One moment, please.
And to put on display every day what is happening here. Again, it's a split screen. We've talked about this split screen in the country right now. The American people are Ronald Reagan used to
If that plan doesn't work when you're using the slider, sir.
and they can see
All
the
right,
facts.
now let's try that again. Here we go.
That the President Trump and the Republican Party are delivering real positive results for the American people, delivering on our promises. We passed the Working Families Tax Cut, which is the largest middle-class tax cut in American history. We signed into law as part of that. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Big savings for those on Social Security. We strengthened Medicaid with popular, common-sense reforms that strengthens the program. We've improved healthcare access in rural communities, and we have reduced premiums. There's a lot more work to be done there. It's the Republicans who are delivering those reforms. We restored American energy dominance. We got the border crisis solved. We are reducing and handling the crime crisis in city by city around America. And we have restored peace through strength. That is on one side of the screen. Over the past 34 days of the shutdown, the Republicans have been the only ones working in good faith to end the shutdown and get everyone paid and get the services flowing again. And we have voted that way 14 times. That's on one side of the screen. On the other is the Democrats. And it's such a stark contrast. Because in the last 10 months, the only thing that party has accomplished for the country is to shut down the federal government and cause this pain. The past 5 weeks have been painfully clear that Democrats are not interested in doing their most basic job. And we explained here yesterday, all of this is motivated by one thing and one thing alone. The Schumer shutdown was never about health care or any other policy that they claim now. They can't even decide amongst themselves what it was about. Some have said it's the Seinfeld shutdown because it's about nothing. But I'll tell you what it is ultimately about, truly, and this is something that can be demonstrated and everyone here knows it's true. As I summarized yesterday, the Schumer shutdown was never about health care or any other policy. It is about fear. It's about fear. Right now, the Democrats fear political retribution from the far left activists in their party more than they fear the consequences of keeping the government closed for weeks on end. They fear political retribution from far left activists more than families going hungry and workers missing paychecks. That is a fact that they are demonstrating day after day and vote after vote. It's gotten so bad for them that even their traditional allies are losing patience now. The head of the Teamsters Union had a blunt message to Democrats a couple of days ago. Quote, "American workers are not bargaining chips. Senators need to stop screwing around and pass the House-passed clean short-term funding bill," unquote. And it's not just the Teamsters, as you know. AFGE, the largest union of federal workers, had the same plea. And so did the National Association of Air Traffic Controllers, the Coalition of Airline Pilots Association, the NetJets Association of Shared Aircraft Pilots, the Allied Pilots Association, Southwest Airline Pilots Association, the New York Steamfitters Union. It goes on and on and on. These organizations have traditionally backed the Democrats for decades. That has been true. They represent tens of thousands of working Americans, all these associations together. And now they're calling on the Democrats to drop their partisan demands and reopen the government. Stop inflicting this pain on the American people because you are afraid of your far left base. And how did the Democrats respond to all this? They're gaslighting the American people and even their own base. The truth is the Democrats have lost touch with working Americans because they've simply stopped listening and stopped serving them. And every few months, after leaning harder into their woke identity politics, they commission an expensive study to try to figure out why working class voters have completely abandoned them in the Democrat Party. Here's a recent finding. This is a left-leaning research group that surveyed 3,000 working-class Americans. This was published in Politico November 2nd. Quote, this is the finding. Working-class voters perceive Democrats to be woke, weak, and out of touch, too focused on social issues, and not nearly focused enough on the economic issues that impact everyone every day, unquote. And here's the kicker. They also said working-class voters, quote, can't name what Democrats stand for other than being against Donald Trump. Well, good luck with that as a message to the people. Of course, you don't need a months-long study to tell you that Democrats are woke and weak. You simply need to look around. As Democrats continue to pander to their radical base of affluent progressives, President Trump and Republicans are building a new multi-generational coalition of voters that is grounded in common sense. Since November 2024, Republicans have welcomed record numbers of Hispanic and Latino voters, Black and African American voters, Jewish voters, union workers, young people, all these different segments of the population, and they came in large numbers. People everywhere can see clearly who's fighting and voting here every day and delivering for them. And I'll say this clearly to every hardworking American in any place who's missed a paycheck, anyone who has been made to suffer because the services, the health services you rely upon, or the food and nutrition supplement for your family, anyone who is hurting, you have a home in the Republican Party. You have people here who are elected by their constituents to come and do their job, and they do it. They're voting to support you, to make these programs available, to ensure that the people in need have them. And the Democrats, by stark contrast, are doing the exact opposite. With federal workers entering their 5th week without a full paycheck, Democrats ought to be taking a hard look in the mirror. Will they continue to bend the knee to their radicals who run their party? Or will Democrats finally do something to serve the working Americans they abandoned long ago? As we said here all along, and every day we come in and tell you the same thing, Democrats made the deliberate choice to shut down the government. And only Democrats can put an end to this madness by making the deliberate choice now to reopen the government. Today is a big election day. In these blue states, we certainly hope for a surprise, but I mean, it won't be a big surprise if the front runners, the Democrats, the radicals, win some of these elections. We're watching New York City very closely, as you all know, and so is Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. And they're terrified that the Marxists are taking over their party, and the evidence today may show that that is true. Now, until Democrats decide to do the right thing, we expect working Americans to continue to flee the Democrat Party and find a home with the Republicans, and we welcome them with open arms, and we'll keep fighting for them every day. And one of the people who is fighting every day and doing an extraordinary job in the cabinet of this administration, this historic administration, that has accomplished more in the first 9-10 months of an administration or Congress than arguably any in history. We have our former colleague and our dear friend, who's on the side of American workers, and we'll address that today, Labor Secretary Lori Chavez de Reamer. We're happy to have you. Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Speaker Johnson, and it's certainly an honor to be here at the Capitol on behalf of this administration and this president. Speaker Johnson, I want to say thank you to you and my former colleagues. House Republicans did their job more than 5 weeks ago by voting for this continuing resolution. How do I know this? Because I did the same thing 5 different times when I was a member of the House. It was one of the easiest votes for me to take because you do not play games on the backs of the American people. It's the fundamental tenet that they elect you to do, and that is to keep the government open. That's exactly what I did. And now Democrats are not choosing to represent their constituents and the American people. What does a shutdown do? 42 million Americans are going without their SNAP benefits. Air traffic controllers are working around the clock to keep Americans safe, without sleep, without paychecks, and they are required to do their job. Small business owners are not getting $4 billion in small business loans to keep their doors open. How can the economy continue to grow? We are losing $15 billion a week in GDP because of this Democratic shutdown. American workers are suffering. Prominent unions are speaking out. Our friend Sean O'Brien, as the Speaker said, was at the White House begging Senate Democrats to open up this government. American workers, 1.3 million Teamsters are represented by Sean O'Brien. He mentioned they cannot be used as political pawns. But you know who's being used as political pawns? The Teamsters by these Democrats. Because they will go to the Teamsters and they will ask them for something, and now they're not going to answer that call. They are begging them to open up this government to grow this economy. Other unions as well, manufacturing, building trades, industry-specific skilled trades. It's the workforce that I represent as the Labor Secretary. Every single day we show up to make sure that they have the tools that they need. We have sent out over $86 million to our respective states in order to upskill and reskill the American workforce. The future of the American economy is on my shoulders, on this administration's shoulders, and the Democrats have stopped all the momentum that we have put in the last 9 months. Registered apprenticeships, the future workforce. Not only are we hurting the current workforce, it's the future workforce. We are trying to educate our young people. We're trying to register 1 million active apprentices across this country. We had almost 250,000 registered, and now that has come to a screeching halt. We're trying to educate our young Americans on AI. Pilot approaches for workforce challenges in AI, the uncertainty. American workers deserve to know that they are going to have a job in this country, and the Democrats have chosen to play those political games. But many of our efforts have been stopped. 13 times they had an opportunity to say yes, just like I did, just like my colleagues have done. Enough is enough. President Trump has done his job. Not only has he leveled the playing field with tariffs, not only has he welcomed great trade agreements, he has worked most recently with South Korea and Japan to bring hundreds of millions of dollars back to this country for the shipbuilding trades. I have been working around the clock to make sure that we can protect our national security for this country, and now that has also come to a stop. We are hurting American workers. We need to get them back to work. We need to grow this economy. We need to get their paychecks back in their hands so they can provide for their families, put gas in their cars, pay their mortgages, turn on their lights. I'm talking to all of you American workers out there. We're here for you. We're going to continue to fight through this shutdown, and I am begging these Democrats to show up, do their job, and open up this government. 35 days is far too long for the American people. Enough is enough. I'd like to turn it over now to my Chairman Wahlberg, Education and Workforce Committee. And again, on behalf of the President, it is an honor to serve him. It is an honor to serve the American people, an honor to get up every single day and do this job for the American men and women of this country who are building back the United States. Thank you.
Well said, Madam Secretary. And I've worn out my voice, Mr. Speaker, over the course of the last 5 weeks all across my district, from Lake Erie to Lake Michigan, from Detroit to Grand Rapids, from South Bend to Toledo, Ohio. Getting the message out that Republicans did what we needed to do to keep this country moving forward. We were willing to negotiate on everything and anything, but do it in a way that doesn't have a punitive impact upon the citizens we are so privileged to serve. And Madam Secretary, we're looking forward to Workforce Pell being initiated and getting more people trained for the workforce for the jobs that we need. And this stutter that's gone on now for 35 days doesn't help us get it up and running well as a result of the One Big Beautiful Bill and what we've done there and many other things for education and the workforce. It's now been over a month since Democrats shut down the government, and the American people are feeling the impacts. Workers and families don't know when they'll receive their next paycheck. Service members and men and women who keep us safe may not be able to feed their families. Air traffic controllers are working double shifts along with TSA that I greeted last night and thanked for working without a paycheck in sight. These are proud Americans who are working hard to keep our communities running, and the Democrats are making sure they won't get paid. The Democrats are making sure they won't get paid. Did I make that clear? We've tried to do that all across the media networks in Michigan, and I think it's working. Similarly, businesses across the country are facing mounting uncertainty. Groups like the Job Creators Network and National Restaurant Association are raising the alarm about millions of workers and businesses at risk of closing because of the shutdown. And according to the American Hotel and Lodging Association, the economy loses $31 million per day from lost hotel revenues. Virtually every sector of our economy is hurting because of this foolhardy Democrat shutdown. And since the start of the shutdown, more than 4,800 small businesses have been unable to access the Small Business Administration loans. I've sat with some of those businesses. I've heard their concerns. I've heard their desires to expand their business, but they can't get the applications filled out, further restricting businesses' ability to grow, potentially forcing others to close permanently. What's more, this shutdown has disrupted the data that drives the economy. Jobs, prices, paychecks, the data that guides it all has stopped flowing, and that is hurting workers, families, and job creators. In my home state of Michigan, we're losing more than $360 million in economic activity every week, week upon week. That means every week workers, job creators, and communities lose out on chances to thrive as families struggle to put food on the table. But Democrats don't seem to mind. We've all heard House Democrat Whip Catherine Clark's interview describing the suffering of families as leverage to remote health care to illegal aliens. And then there's the Senate Democrat leader, Chuck Schumer, in his comment that every day gets better for us. How cruel, how unfeeling, how uncaring. Clearly, the Democrats are so wrapped up in DC politics, they've forgotten what really matters, helping the Americans thrive. Now, labor unions, as the speaker pointed out, who overwhelmingly supported Democrat politicians and left-wing causes, are calling for Democrats to vote for the House Republican-passed clean continuing resolution. We passed it. We funded government. We didn't shut it down. The American Federation of Government Employees, Steamfitters Local 638, Teamsters, and pilots unions are calling for the government to reopen because livelihoods are being crushed. Our nation's children are being impacted too, and I'm concerned about that. Some Head Start programs, some of those small little seats that I've sat in, hearing about what good work is done for these families and kids. Head Start programs, because of the Democrat unfunding of them, will not receive federal grants despite being the only option for many low-income families. That will lead to disruptions that will force families to go without child care as programs face dwindling funds or go without funding entirety. We funded it in the House. The Senate Democrats need to do the same. If the COVID-19 pandemic taught us anything, it's how bad any disruption to a child's life can be. Long-term school closures exacerbated learning loss and caused skyrocketing truancy. How long do the Democrats need to keep our government shut down before they see the real harm they're doing to Americans' children? The Democrat government shutdown has gone on far too long. And the longer it lasts, the worse things get for the American people. This is the first time in history, if you might be reminded, the first time in history a political party has shut down the government over a clean CR. The Democrat petty partisanship is hurting workers, families across the country. The shutdown is also showing Americans just how far the Democrats will go to promote their out-of-touch agenda, even if it means holding the American people hostage for more than a month. America's workers, families, unions, and job creators have all spoken. Chuck Schumer, pass the clean CR and reopen the government immediately. I hope the Democrats are listening, at least 5 of them. Republicans have listened and voted to fully fund the government, coming on 15 times as of today. It's time for 5 more Democrats, including my 2 members from Michigan, to vote the same way. For the children, as Nancy Pelosi has famously said. Do it for the children. Do it for Americans. I now am pleased to turn over the podium to a great leader, Leader Scalise.
Thank you, Chairman Walberg and Secretary Chavez de Reamer. It's great to have you back here in the House. I'll start by joining in with what the Speaker said and extending my condolences to the family of Dick Cheney. Of course, served 8 years as President George Walker Bush's Vice President, served in so many other important roles in government, started as a member of this House of Representatives, and lived an incredible life, and we mourn his passing and extend our prayers to the Cheney family. As we look at potentially another vote today in the Senate to try to have a breakthrough to open up the government, let's remember when the Senate votes today, they're not voting on some big, massive omnibus bill, a bill that resolves all of our differences. You know, if you're one of these Democrats, and it only takes 5 to get this government back open, and you're struggling with this decision, do you offend your far left radical base? It's about to elect the new leader of their Democrat Party in Mondami in New York, or do you stand up for the tens of millions of people around the country who are actually suffering? And if you vote yes today, are you giving anything up? What's in that bill? A clean continuing resolution that violates any of your principles? There's nothing. Again, that bill does not solve our differences. That bill just keeps the lights on. That bill just allows federal workers to get paid for the work that they're doing. Those that have to show up and work and keep our airports open. The air traffic controllers who are working under high, incredible stress in a normal time so that planes can land and take off safely with 150 plus people on each one of those planes, without worrying about the stress that as soon as they get off the job, they've got to go do a second shift as an Uber driver because they can't put food on the table because Democrats shut down the government. Hopefully they weigh that when they cast their vote today. And we see every day, of course, unfortunately, more and more consequences to the suffering Democrats are causing. We know on the SNAP program, 42 million people. And yes, the courts are trying to work with the White House to find ways to move some other money around. But as we know, even if they're able to move money around, it doesn't make that program whole. The only way to make the SNAP program whole is by Democrats opening up the government. It's real straightforward. You vote yes or no. You vote yes because you want to put food on the table for 42 million low-income families. But if you vote no, maybe because you're afraid of some radicals in Portland or San Francisco or New York City, when you vote no, you are taking food off the table for 42 million low-income people, the least among us who need that help. 6.7 million going without the Women, Infant, and Children program funding. WIC program is really, really important, again, to very low-income people who need that help. Democrats have no problem shutting off that funding, causing that suffering, and to use their term, because they think they're getting some kind of leverage. We still don't know what the leverage is for. They're trying to leverage the American people, and they can't even articulate what it is they want. Yeah, $1.5 trillion wish list of crazy items like free health care for illegals, gutting a rural health care fund. Is that really the leverage they want to use the American people for and deny the WIC funding? 2 million people in the military, 2 million service members going without pay. What do they say to them? Oh, gee whiz, they were so afraid of Mandami in New York that they couldn't vote to pay our men and women in uniform who are keeping our country safe, risking their lives, while their families are wondering if they're going to be able to put food on the table. What a profile in courage. It's gutless. 700,000 federal employees without pay, 670,000 federal workers furloughed, 5.9 million households at risk of losing their home heating services under the HEAP program. You know, we had Secretary Chavez DeRemer talk about opportunities for young people that just want to learn through apprentice programs to get their start in life so that they can go and get a skill, a trade, maybe start their own small business. That's not going to happen while the government's shut down. And if those Democrats vote no again today, ask them to articulate why. What's their answer to those young people? Some 19, 18-year-old kid who just wants to go learn electrical skills, but won't be able to because, why? Because Democrats want to use him as leverage in some game that they can't even explain. And then, of course, we all know all the different groups that have come out over and over. They've not said, let's pass some big sweeping omnibus bill. They've just said, pass the clean CR that the House passed over a month ago. The National Air Traffic Controllers Association, American Federation of Government Employees, Teamsters, Coalition of Airline Pilots Association, Airline Pilots Association, NetJets Association of Shared Aircraft Pilots, Southwest Airline Pilots. Additionally, United Airlines, Delta Airlines, American Airlines, Southwest Airlines have all called for the same thing. It's for the Democrats in the Senate to pass the clean CR. The message couldn't be clearer. Their mission can't be more direct. You just show up today and do your job and vote yes. Doesn't solve all of our differences. It just gives us a few more weeks to start negotiating our differences on so many things, but while not holding the American people hostage. End this madness, Democrats. Open up the government. Our whip, Tom Emmer.
The Democrat government shutdown, spanning 35 days and still counting, is now tied for the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Chuck Schumer and company are going down in the history books for beating total obstructionists over a nonpartisan government funding bill. Meanwhile, it's hardworking Americans who are being forced to pay the price. Federal workers are turning to local food banks to feed their families. Head Start programs are beginning to close, as Chairman Walberg mentioned. Thousands of flights are getting delayed due to staffing shortages. Small businesses that contract with the federal government have already lost an estimated $12 billion. Even unions, as you've heard, which traditionally have favored our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, are begging for them to end their needless shutdown charade. The good news is, I think we've reached the real inflection point. Today is election day in several states, and we're hopeful that after today, the Democrats won't be as concerned about in order to appease the Kami Mamdani and Omar Fata wing of their party. And maybe, just maybe, at least 5 Senate Democrats will finally come to their senses and join us by passing our clean CR to reopen the government. The ball is in their court. Republicans have done our job. The question is, are Democrats willing to put politics aside long enough to do theirs? I hope the answer is yes, sooner rather than later. The American people deserve better. Chairwoman McLean.
Thank you. And thank you, Chairman Walberg and Secretary Chavez DeRemer. It's good to see you again. Thank you for your words of wisdom. But again, here we are today, and I want to be very clear about the consequences of the Democrats' actions. 42 million Americans will lose their SNAP benefits because they voted to shut the government down. Air traffic controllers, TSA agents, and federal law enforcement officers are working without pay because they voted to shut the government down. Democrats have weakened our military, threatened families, and held hard-working Americans hostage. Why? All because they voted to shut the government down. And why did they inflict this pain? Because Democrats wanted leverage. Leverage to appease their radical base with more wasteful spending. And don't take my word for it. They've admitted this countless times. They're not even ashamed of this. And today will prove it again when the largest federal workers union called on Democrats to end the shutdown. What Democrats do? They still voted no. When air traffic controllers unions asked them to support the clean CR to make sure that the government stayed open, Democrats voted no. And when nearly 500 small businesses and travel organizations warned the shutdown is crushing them, what Democrats do? They voted no. But the socialist wing of their party wants government-run health care, taxpayer-funded benefits for more illegals, and another $1.5 trillion in wasteful spending. That's what your Democrats want. Enough is enough. We aren't going to let your socialist base call the shots. To every Democrat watching, hear me when I say this. It is time to stop holding the American people hostage. Just because you are being held hostage by your socialist base. End the shutdown. End the pain and suffering for the American people of which you represent, and end it now, please.
All right, thanks again, Mr. Chairman, Madam Secretary. I know you all are busy. We're glad you're here and grateful to have you. Let's take some questions. Front row, front row.
There have been reports of bipartisan talks from senators to reopen the government, to move forward on ACA votes. Are you or other top House GOP members in the loop of these conversations? Are you present in these meetings?
No, not present in the meetings. I know about as much about it as you do. I know there are, we hope, we pray, a handful of moderate and centrist Democrats left among the Democrats in the Senate, where the whole country is counting upon them. I have said here, I do not expect that Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries will ever vote to reopen the government. I don't think that they're willing to face the wrath of the leftist base. They see what's happening in New York City and in their state of New York, and they're terrified by that. I mean, we've made that very clear, and I think the evidence speaks for itself. So we're going above the heads of the so-called leadership, and we are appealing to the consciences of a handful of people in the Senate who want to do the right thing and just stop the pain for the American people. And we pray that today is that day. Maybe tying for the longest shutdown in history is something that they can claim as some sort of success. But it's sickening. It's sickening to see a political game being played. We're not playing a game here. We never were. Back on September 19th, to remind you all again, we passed a clean, nonpartisan CR that's 24 pages in length, had not a single Republican priority on it. Why? Because we did it in good faith, because we didn't want this eventuality to occur. We knew it would be too painful for the people, and that's why we've always done the right thing, as everyone has said over and over. Now they won't, and we all know why. Yes, sir. No. If the Senate passes something, of course, we'll come back. We're running out of clock. Obviously, we put 7 weeks on the clock. That was remember, the bipartisan arrangement that was made between Democrats and Republicans in the House and the Senate, in consultation with the Senate, bipartisan bicameral agreement that they needed 7 more weeks on the clock. Because once we got to the end of the fiscal year, September 30th, there would be that much more time needed, they estimated, to finish the government funding appropriations process. The Democrats have played games, and we've lost so many of those days now. So if they extend it, obviously that logically makes sense to us. I am not a fan of extending it to December because, let's be frank, a lot of people around here have PTSD about Christmas omnibus spending bills. We don't want to do that. It gets too close, and we don't want to have that risk. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. But too many people have concern. I think putting it into January makes sense, but we've got to obviously build consensus around that. There's some discussion about it. We'll see where it lands. I'm not sure. Scott, real quick. Yeah, Scott. was announced this morning, so there's not been any discussion about that yet. My interaction with him personally was limited when I was a freshman in Congress, and the 115th Congress came here in January 2017. One of my classmates was Liz Cheney, and we were in the same class. And I think I met her father for the first time with her personally. And of course, I was honored to meet him. At the time, everybody was aligned on the same page on everything. And I, admired what he had done in Republican politics to that point. And I meant what I said when I came up here and began this morning, that even when we have political differences with somebody later in life, you have to honor the sacrifices and the service they gave to their country. We certainly do that for the former vice president, and our prayers go out to the whole family. So, yeah.
You talk about the split screen between what the Democrats are doing and what the Republicans are doing. What about the split screen about the fact that the Trump administration is administering only part of the SNAP program while President Trump is having a gathering party at Mar-a-Lago?
I reject the premise of the question. Let me talk about SNAP. Okay. By the way, the president had an annual Halloween theme party every year at Mar-a-Lago. That's what he went back to as obligatory tradition. And I just discount what you're trying to do there. The SNAP benefit is a very important question. The White House has bent over backwards, as we've recounted here every morning, to make sure that Americans' pain is mitigated as much as possible, reduced as much as possible. So we got the troops paid. They made creative solutions for that. The WIC funding for women, infants, and children. And SNAP came to a legal crossroads because the legal analysis said that you could not use the contingency fund if the underlying fund was not flowing. I've explained that into detail here multiple times. Two courts disagreed. So what did the president do? In good faith, showing again that he's willing to bend over backwards to help the American people when Democrats are not, he went to the court and said, fine, show me how to do it, because we don't see the path. And so the courts have ordered that. They filed a brief yesterday, or some response yesterday in the court, that they'll give as much as is there. Remember, the contingency fund only has roughly $5 billion, and it costs roughly $9 billion for a month of SNAP benefits. So I think the arrangement is they're going to give half, at least half, to everyone. But here's the problem: it's very complex, is that it's administered through the states, and you have to recalculate all the allocations and how the checks go out. It's not, you can't just flip a switch and do that. It's a lot of work that goes into it. So I can tell you that the president is dialed in on this. The president is trying to protect and cover the American people, as he always does. The president is trying to get the government open again. And the Republicans have voted 14 times to do it, and the Democrats have voted 14 times not to do it, to keep the government closed. That's the story. And I don't know why there's any confusion about this at all. They're going to do it again today. My prediction is the Democrats are going to vote for the 15th time to shut their government down, and they're going to look down their noses at the people who are struggling, who are suffering, can't put food on the table, who can't pay their bills because they're playing games over here. It is absolutely unforgivable in my view. And I wish more of you would give them a tougher time. Yes, last one.
Yeah, thank you for the question on the Labor Department and specifically BLS, the labor statistics, how important those data points are in order for the markets, in order for employers to understand what the workforce is needed. We are not able to release a lot of those reports because we have those furloughed employees. So once the government is open, we will get right back to work in releasing that. We released one report earlier this month because that was required by law. And the CPI, in order to talk about Social Security checks for 2026, that had to be calculated. So we brought some workers back for that, but we will not be able to release the other data points. As far as the Department of Labor goes, as was mentioned, when we're talking about the SNAP program, one of the other programs that we're definitely concerned about, and we've sent letters out to all 50 states, is unemployment insurance. As delivered by those states, that will be the next thing that we have to be concerned about. If people stop receiving their unemployment insurance, will be another detrimental fact to the American workforce. So that is what we're focused on now. We need this government open. We need to get back to work for the American people. The American workers deserve to know where their next paycheck is coming from, and the American economy deserves the American workers there. So yes, this is impacting the labor force. I would imagine we're going to see more and more things every single day that this government is shut down. it is going to affect the American economy. And so we're working hard at the Labor Department to make sure that we can keep everything running that we can. But right now at this point, we're working off the back heels of us, and we have to do everything we can. So it's important to get as many statistics out as we can, but we haven't been able to do so. So we're working hard for the American people. We need this government open to do so and to continue.
Thank you.
Real quick, do you support ICE raids in districts like Speaker Johnson's district and the Republicans up here on stage?
All right, why the hell are they asking about ICE raids during a shutdown press briefing? I'm not staying with this anymore because even the reporters are starting to tick me off. Anyway, so plus we've got lots more show to get to, so I'm not going to give this any more oxygen. So anyway, so we're back. We're live. That was Speaker of the House Johnson referring to the fact that we're now in day 35 of the Schumer shutdown shakedown. And that's what this is, ladies and gentlemen. Make zero mistake about it. This was, and I think this was to try to gin up support for the elections that are going on today. I have in next hour, I'm going to be going in depth a little bit as far as what I think is probably going to happen in New York City. And then later tonight, it looks like we'll be doing a Twitchy live blog, so I'll be hanging out over there. Plus, may or may not do some late night election recapping, depending on when we wrap up with that. Because today's going to be a huge day for America. This is going to kind of be our turning point. And I've had this going as a crawler on a lot of my screens lately. This can either be a turning point or a tipping point. It's going to be up to you. Unfortunately, it looks like the Democrats are pushing for a tipping point, not a turning point, because they're the ones that have wanted us to fall off the fiscal cliff now for quite some time. And you can see this by everything they're doing. Everything they do, everything they say is designed to do the same thing. It is to make the American people more reliant on the government, more reliant on government handouts, more reliant on help from the government, so that at some point that help can be stripped away and then everything collapses. And I'm sorry, that is exactly, what do you mean, why is my screen backwards? My screen's not backwards. What are you talking about? I'm even looking at the letters. I can read the letters on the mic, so I know it's not backwards. I'm confused. Sorry, I was responding to somebody in the chat, and I was very, very confused because, I don't think it's set to mirror. Because normally I make sure that I can see. Oh, I guess it is set to mirror. Okay, that was weird because it didn't look backwards to me, but I fixed it. It wasn't set to mirror the last time I was in the studio. So I guess it was backwards. My apologies to BZ, who apparently has much better eyesight than I do. But then again, I only have one good one anyway. All right, so we fixed that problem, which I wasn't aware was a problem until just now. So anyway, dude, that shows you how messed up my vision is because I'm reading stuff that's mirror imaged and thinking it looks normal. Wow. Okay, so apparently I'm more tired than I thought. Okay, so let's get into this though, because this is a CNN host who was recently on Pod Save America had this to say. So let's just give this a brief listen/watch. It's not that long, but
do you feel like you better understand what drives MAGA politics because of this show?
Yeah.
You feel like you got enough of
I talk to tried and true, dyed in the wool MAGA people every single day. And so, I understand where they come from. I understand the information silos that they're in that make it hard to see outside of it. And it's not that complicated. I mean, I think that they like winning. And Trump is winning in their minds. So in a way, it to me, it boils down to mostly that.
Notice that part where she said Trump is winning, and then she's like, oh shit, I said the quiet part out loud. In their minds, he's winning. Look, the simple fact of the matter is this has been probably one of the most historic first years in a presidency that I can remember. with all the things that he's managed to do while fighting everything upstream, while dealing with Democrats who, for the first time in history, have shut the government down over nothing. When the Republicans were threatening to shut the government down, it was because the Democrats were wanting to do way too much spending and all the other crap. And now with this, you have a clean CR, you have an extension of Biden era level spending, which in my opinion is still way too high to begin with. But to try to kick the can down the road and start trying to do appropriations correctly, which we've been telling them we've wanted them to do now for over a decade, they tried to do this, and the Democrats still said no. But I'm going to tell you why. They're hoping this motivates their base to turn out because they knew they were going to lose. That there was a good chance that other than New York City, they were going to lose everywhere else, except for maybe the Prop 50 thing, because California is going to be allowed to keep counting until they get the results they want. They being Gavin Newsom, who is the king of California. I said what I said because it's just the truth of it. But the simple fact of the matter on all of this is the following. Yeah, exactly. As BZ just put in the chat, everything, I repeat, everything is about ensuring, no matter the cost, no matter the bodies laid, that Orange Man Bad gets nothing, even remotely close to a win. And the problem is, up until now, they haven't been able to stop him. So now they think they found a way to do it. But at the same time, their own party is falling apart. Nancy Pelosi is on her way out. Of course, she's 86 years old. Rumor has it she will not be running for another term, but she just got caught saying some stupid crap that may or may not come back to bite her in the butt someday. I guess we'll find out. But here's that. So hang on.
He's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do, yeah. I do.
Why is that?
Because he's the President of the United States and he does not honor the Constitution of the United States. In fact, he's turned the Supreme Court into a rogue court. He's abolished the House of Representatives. He's chilled.
Wait, I'm not getting my memos. When did Donald Trump abolish the House of Representatives? I'm not getting my memos. I don't know when that happened. I mean, does she even know what planet she's on right now? Oh my God, he's abolished the House of Representatives. Oh, no. The Democrats shut the government down, which is indirectly for the moment abolished the House of Representatives, but it's on hiatus. It's not fully abolished. The thing that I'm afraid the Democrats have miscalculated on is for a vast number of Americans, there's no evidence of a shutdown. Their lives are still continuing. A lot of us don't travel by air every single day. A lot of us don't have to use food stamps all the time. I mean, I'll be honest, my granddaughter gets a little bit, or my daughter gets a little bit for her granddaughter, but we save that stuff for her and for Gracie, and I'll just make up the difference this month if I have to. It's not something that we have to have. It's just nice because that way it's not money that has to come out of my pocket, since technically they're supposed to be separate from me anyway, as far as that stuff is concerned. So, but look, it's really simple to sit back and call people names. And that's pretty much where we are everywhere anymore. The right does it, the left does it, even some folks in the middle do it. I mean, hell, there's like this huge dust up going on between Tucker Carlson and a bunch of other folks right now. And I don't get it. I don't get it. But what I don't get is all the people that are like, we should just get along with everybody until the elections are over. Really? So you want anti-Semites in your party? Because I don't. I don't. I don't want racist in my parties. I don't want Nazis in my party. I don't want people that hate Jews in my party. I'm sorry, in my opinion, hate has no place in America. Period. Full stop. Now, I know that may seem contradictory in a lot of ways to some of the things that I talk about here, but what I'm talking about isn't coming from a position of hate. It's coming from a position of understanding who these people are and us realizing that we have opened our doors to people that don't think the same thing that we do. And some of that was done outside of our control, outside of our sphere of influence, and now we're trying to do everything we can to fix it. But when we get into hour 2 in a minute, I'm going to do a bit of a deep dive on exactly what's happening in this country when it comes to the Islamists that are now running for positions of power, and exactly why that should terrify all of you. Not because maybe the individual isn't a bad person, but because their beliefs are completely antithetical to yours and mine. I don't know their hearts. I just know that their belief system is different than ours. And their belief system, the very name of their belief system is submission. And if you translate Islam to English, it means submit. What nobody realizes is some of the very same programs that Mamdani is pushing are created and will be designed to make people submit. Because that is every aspect of everything that they do is designed to teach people that they have to submit to their ways. I'm sorry, but that is completely antithetical to everything that I believe. It's completely antithetical to everything that I believe. And we'll be getting into that in the next hour too. But speaking of the next hour, we are going to go ahead and take a break. My name is Rick Robinson. This is my show. Again, we do this thing every Tuesday through Friday, usually starting at 10 a.m. Eastern time-ish. Don't forget, Friday afternoons, we also now have the Weekend News Roundup, where we have folks from Town Hall, from KLR Radio, from Red State, as well as the Loftus Party website and shrmedia.com. Also, when I'm done here, don't forget to head over to YouTube and click on SHR Media, because I believe Earl will be starting up live right about the time that I wrap. So make sure you guys go check that one out today. Also, don't forget tonight, we will have Manorama. I likely will not be there because I'll probably be working a Twitchy live vlog. But for those of you that don't really, that maybe the manosphere podcast isn't really your thing, and I hate that word, but it's the best way to describe it. Don't forget, you can also head over to SHR Media and check out BZ live. But if you can't be there tonight for whatever reason, you can always catch him live here tomorrow recorded here tomorrow and then live on Thursday. Sorry. In a second, I'll remember what I'm saying. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Not to be a backseat driver, but can you say for sure you got the best monthly payment possible on your auto loan? Could it be that you might have gotten a better deal by shopping the loan at a few places and have a lower car payment? Next time, before you go car shopping, visit Communication Federal Credit Union first. Our auto loan experts will find you a perfect loan and get you the lowest monthly payment we can. Communication Federal, your auto loan experts. Restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
They keep saying we must want civil war. But tell me, friend, what are we fighting for? We just want to be left alone, to chase our dreams and build our homes. Front porch lights fading in the storm, trying to hold on to what was warm. We ain't changed, we're still the same, standing proud in a world gone strange. You call it the line, kept pushing the frame, redefining truth and changing names. They say progress like it's a holy word. Nobody's listening, nobody's heard. We stayed steady while they rewrote the song. Now they call us out for holding on. Well, we ain't changed, we're still the same. Standing proud in a world gone strange. You call it rage, we call it pain. We just want our freedom back again. Flags have torn, but we raise them high. We ain't changed, we just won't lie. Every time you push, something breaks. Every rule you bend, another heart aches. But there's still faith under all that noise. Still fire burning in a million quiet boys. We ain't changed, no, we're still the same. Standing proud in a world gone strange. You call it rage, we call it pain. We just want our freedom back again. Flags have torn, but we raise them high. We ain't changed, we won't die inside.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
I know it's probably conceited to cheer dance to a song I wrote as an intro, but I really dig it. It's got so inside baseball moment when I was in the running to get my own morning show on KOKC 1520 AM. I was gonna use a link from Stephen Curtis Chapman to open every morning, and without even putting that in the prompt, it's like I was able to tell GPT what I was looking for well enough for it to realize that that was kind of the feel I wanted for this too. Because it was saddle up your horses. That was going to be the intro for the opening hour every morning of my morning show. But it didn't happen, so now I do a morning show over here anyway. So let's get into some stuff because we've got plenty of stuff to talk about today. And I feel like that press conference went longer than it normally does, but That's all right. I wanted to stay with it anyway. But we've got this happening. So I guess there have been some bomb threats in New Jersey as, people are headed to the polls. And this guy had something very specific to say about that. Here we go. Make sure. Okay. Yep. I was right. Did I move that over? I don't remember.
Incredibly concerning. And I think that it is an illustration of the attacks we're seeing on our democracy. Sometimes they're blatant and explicit in the manner of these bomb threats. And we have to understand this as part of the general approach the Trump administration has taken to trying to intimidate voters with baseless allegations of voter fraud as a means.
Say what now? All right. So I'm going to stop right there for just a second because has to be done. But say what now? Because wait. They don't know where these threats are coming from, sir. So where is it that you're suddenly, well, this is all Donald Trump's fault? Really? Really? Because last I checked, we aren't the ones threatening violence. That's your side. And I have to be honest, the fact that, and I get these are, mostly deep blue states. Virginia is the only one that's been purplish lately, but with their weird laws, they have to elect a new governor every 4 years. If I were Virginians, I would probably, it's not that they have to elect a new one every 4 years. It's that a governor can't run for consecutive terms. If I were Virginia, I would be working on probably changing that because that's another reason why that state is just, okay, so let me fix it. That's another reason why that Commonwealth is a total mess. But for this guy to be sitting here saying, well, we know the score. Donald Trump's the one trying to stop people from voting today, and we know that. No, actually, we don't. But go ahead.
Of trying to repress the voice of Americans across this country.
I don't know if he's going to get that question again today, but the general approach the Trump administration has taken to try and intimidate voters, unless we heard him incorrectly, what in the world is he talking about?
He is serving up a Kamala-sized word salad, but he's using kale instead of romaine. It's just a slightly better finessed verbiage than we.
I don't know if I would count kale as better than romaine, but I see where she's going with it because it was very Kamilama Hamasnik style. I'm going to go ahead and let the last few seconds of this play through.
We were given with her. This is emptiness. It means nothing. What he's doing is deflecting because he doesn't have an answer for this because he is not prepared if, God forbid, something like 9/11 happened again. Just think about that. Were you in New York on 9/11? Do you remember what happened to the city? Do you remember what happened to this country? Do you remember who was mayor and what was needed from that office? Could this person really provide that? I mean, it scares the hell out of me. I hope everyone has a plan with their kids if, God forbid, something happens.
Got it.
All right. So I have tried to stay out of this as much as possible because I don't live in New York City. I don't really have any skin in the game, or I didn't really think that I did until I realized how interconnected everything is now. And if New York City falls, the rest of the country probably won't be that far behind it unless we start trying to insulate ourselves from the mess. But it's time to say the quiet part out loud because I firmly believe this. If there were another incident like 9/11, this dude would be in the streets doing this one.
Oh, durka, durka, durka.
And then yelling Aloha Snack Bar. For all the world to see if there was another incident like 9/11, especially if it involved Islamic terror. And the scariest thing about all of this, and this is something that has been driving me crazy, is the rise of not only, Muslim populations in this country, which, you can say what you want about that, but the devout Islamists that are part of this country now and are assuming areas of control and points of and becoming elected in office and are saying things in places like Dearborn that the people that are voting for them didn't come here to assimilate, they came here to colonize. And we haven't been paying attention to the words that these people have been using, or we don't care enough because we've been taught, especially if we're Christians, we've been taught this socialized cafeteria Christianity version of Jesus where he just went along to get along and just told everybody, oh no, everything's going to be fine. It'll all be okay. Let me just pat you on the head and send you along your way. That was nothing that he ever said. And we are talking about two completely antithetical ideologies that are currently at war on the same continent. Nobody's willing to talk about that part. And I don't know why. Well, I say that I don't know why, but I do because If I say this, people are gonna hate me. If I say bad things about Islam, they're gonna think that I'm an Islamophobic. Look, trust me, phobia by the very definition of phobia is to have an irrational fear of something. When these people have been chanting for decades, first the Saturday people, then the Sunday people, nothing about that fear is irrational. Nothing. And what drives me crazy, because I hear this all the time, Rick, there's like 12 million Muslims and there's really only 1.5 million that are openly hostile. Then why don't the other 10.5 million do something about their crazies like we try to do about ours? Why not? Why can't they do something about it? We police our own. When is the last time as a Christian you heard anything about the Westboro Baptist Church? It's been almost 5 years. You know why? Because we told them to GTFO. That's why. We didn't agree with their beliefs or their lifestyle choices or anything else, so we told them to go away. Now, to them, they were being good Christians. I don't think they were, but that's not for me to decide. Every one of us, at some point, and this is even for you Islamists out there, every single one of you at some point is going to have to stand before God the Father and recount the reasons why you did all the things that you did. And I firmly believe it's going to be quite a lot like a king's court, where you're going to be standing in front of God the Father. Jesus will be at his right hand, and all these things will be listed off that you did or that you did that didn't align with doctrine or teachings or faith or anything else. And Jesus will say, yeah, but it's covered. Yeah, but it's covered. I mean, it's probably going to be more official than that. But that's my honest belief. And I think that as Christians, we have dropped the ball in so many ways because we have tried to do this. Well, Jesus says turn the other cheek, and Jesus says this, and Jesus says that. But at the same time, he never told you not to be a lion for your faith. He never told you to put other faiths on the same level as yours. He never told you to put other belief systems on the same level as yours. You shall have no other gods before me was rather specific. And yet we now have people that worship at the altar of transgenderism. We have people that worship at the altar of commercialism, which is a bastardized version of which is a bastardized version of capitalism. And there seems to be nobody willing to bridge that gap anymore. I don't get it. I don't understand how and why and when it became, and this is coming from somebody who walked that line for years now. I don't know when it became okay to keep your faith and your personal life and your professional life completely compartmentalized from one another, because that's not anything that Jesus ever taught us to do. And that's what scares me about what's probably going to happen in New York City tonight. And I pray that I'm wrong, but even the alternative, unless there's some sort of a miracle, isn't much better, because you're talking about putting a guy who was already a governor into the mayor's office who killed billions of people during COVID. Those are the best options that we have, where even Fox News and Donald Trump is saying, well, I'd rather have a bad Democrat than a full-on socialist. I wouldn't. Sliwa is an obvious alternative. I know everybody says there's no way that he can win. I don't know whether he can win or not. You know what? I don't live there. And up until the last couple of weeks, I didn't really care until I realized exactly how bad all of this is getting. I mean, we just had what appears to be a potential terror attack, an Islamist terror attack, stopped on Halloween. But you have this guy, the mayor of New York City, potentially, depending on how the election goes today, blaming Donald Trump for the bombings. You know what? It probably wasn't Donald Trump. You know who it was? Disgruntled Democrats trying to probably keep Republicans from going out and voting, because they're looking at exactly how close those polls are. And they're hoping, because like it or not, age-wise, a lot of Republican voters are above a certain demographic, that if they scare them enough, they'll stay home. I'm still hoping not, BZ. I mean, it's not a very firm hope, but I'm still hoping not. Because I think this will be the beginning of the end of us if it actually does happen. All right, so let's see what other trouble we can get into real quick. I don't usually talk about this stuff very often, but this is from a friend of mine, Amy Curtis, over at Town Hall. Joe Biden did this. The Taliban is currently making life even harder for women in Afghanistan. The situation for women in Afghanistan continues to deteriorate ever since President Joe Biden presided over the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, one that killed 13 American service members and countless Afghans. The Taliban has made life for women in the Asian nation a living hell. Women are forbidden from using cell phones, studying, working in offices outside the home, speaking in public, or being seen through windows. Now the Taliban has taken away another source of income for women, leaving many widows, unemployed and starving. This is from WDJ Afghanistan. A new Taliban ban has forbidden women from working in the carpet weaving industry, leaving many widows and sole breadwinners unemployed despite earlier restrictions on office work. Some women had relied on the labor-intensive jobs until now. Please stand with Afghani women. Why am I talking about that? Because that's where we're headed with New York City. Nobody wants to talk about it yet. Nobody wants to see it yet. But if Mom Donnie becomes the mayor of New York City, trust me, New York City will become like London before you know it. And this is a test balloon. This is a test balloon for several different things. One, how far left has the Democratic Party actually gone? Is it gone far enough left now where you can actually elect an Islamic socialist or communist, depending on your perspective? And sadly, I think it has, but we're going to find out for sure tonight, one way or the other. And for what it's worth, I sincerely hope that I'm wrong. All right, so next bit of news. This is actually from Mesa, Arizona. There is a teacher who's gotten 187 years in prison for crimes against his students. But here, let's just find this all. Let's find out all of this together, because ew. All right, here we go. Thought I had it. Yeah, I was gonna say I thought I had that on YouTube, but there it is. All right, here we go.
A former Mesa teacher will spend the rest of his life behind bars for sexually abusing two of his students. Corey Kapahulehua has been sentenced to 187 years in prison for having sexual relationships with a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old girl while he met them teaching at the Arizona Agribusiness and Equine Center in Mesa. Investigators say that the abuse began on school grounds and then later continued off campus at hotels, parking garages, and even his apartment. A jury convicted Kapahulehua on 17 felony counts, including sexual conduct with a minor, molestation, and sexual abuse.
So yeah, just when you think things couldn't get any worse in this country, you keep finding out about stories like that one. So I don't know that much other than the bit that we've talked about here, but 187 years in prison doesn't seem like quite enough to me. Anyway, so yeah, that's just one of those things. And again, dude's a little bit younger than I am, but having sex with a 14-year-old, apparently he was 44 years old. So all right, so just for fun, it looks like Kurt Schlichter has put out some predictions for today's election. This is a VIP piece, so I won't be going over all of it. But so nice. I didn't realize he had his own little thing going now. So there's an editor's note that I'm not really going to read, but it says, "Welcome back to the stream of courteousness. I just finished up driving from LA to Houston, and wow, what a drive. I'm getting tired of conservatives going out of their way to attack other conservatives. I'm getting bored watching the infighting, and it's really not my responsibility to chime in and give my opinion because it has nothing to do with me. Everyone is freaking out over food stamps expiring. But I think the obvious answer is to start making people work again. Democrats think pinning this on Republicans is working, but it's not. There's no way Democrats are up 8 points in the midterms, as outlets like NBC are claiming. There are a couple of major elections happening today, and I share my predictions on what to expect or what I expect to see. And how long is this? Because I didn't realize it was going to be a video. Okay, so never mind. It's a video. I don't want to get in trouble for playing his full video clip from a VIP. So we're not going to be using any of that. I'll put the link out for it for you guys to check out later. But I have a feeling I already know what a lot of his predictions are going to be. Everybody's pretty convinced that Mom Donnie's going to run away with this thing. I wish. I wish I was wrong on that. All right, so this is happening again. This actually just came out. This came out at about 7 minutes ago Eastern time. Trump is currently unleashing fury and calls to ditch the filibuster now. The Senate filibuster rule is one of the last remaining vestiges of Republican, not the small r government in Washington. It was intended as a safeguard, as a stumbling block against the passions of the moment to ensure a more measured approach to legislation from America's upper house of the legislature. It was intended to make sure the minority too had a voice. Democrats have been shouting about getting rid of the filibuster for years, claiming it's non-democratic. In this narrow respect, they are right. It's not. It is non-democratic. And that's by design, because our nation is not a democracy. It is a constitutional republic. But now there are a lot of voices on the right calling for this nuclear option, not the least of which is President Donald Trump. And here is a Truth Social post that he put out earlier today. The Democrats are far more likely to win in the midterms in the next presidential election if we don't do the termination of the filibuster, the nuclear option, because it will be impossible for Republicans to get common sense policies done with these crazed Democrat lunatics being able to block everything by withholding their votes. For 3 years, nothing will be passed and Republicans will be blamed. Elections, including midterms, will be rightfully brutal. He has a point. There is a time to go broke, and this may be it. The Democrats have no intention of moderating. They have no moderates left in office, except for John Fetterman, Democrat Pennsylvania, who is their last remaining voice of reason in the Senate. They have no presidential candidates. Who can they run? Governor Gavin Newsom, with his record of failure in California. Kamala Harris, who can't string together a coherent sentence. If you spot her two nouns in a conjunction, possibly. J.B. Pritzker, who, if he took lessons and practiced very hard in front of a mirror every day between now and the 2028 election, might be able to work his way up to boring. But here's the thing. If we do terminate the filibuster, we will get everything, according to Donald Trump. We will get everything approved like no Congress in history. We will have fair, free, and safe elections, no men and women's sports or transgender for everybody, strong borders, major tax and energy cuts, and we will secure our Second Amendment, with which the Democrats will terminate immediately if we don't do it. They are far more likely to do well in the upcoming elections, which would mean a packed Supreme Court, 2 more states, and 4 more Democratic senators, and D.C. and Puerto Rico, and 8 more electoral votes. And we will be handing the Democrats carte blanche next time they have control as well, but then it's a safe bet that they will vote that for themselves in any case. So I'm going to say this, and I've been saying this for a while. We either do this now or they're going to do it. So I get it. There is a split camp on my side when it comes to this argument. There's a split camp when it comes to this argument. And simply put, a lot of people are like, but if we do this, then we're doing away with the last vestiges of what made this country a republic instead of a democracy. That ship has already sailed. This country became more of a democracy than a republic when we started allowing senators to be elected by popular votes within their states. That was never the intention of our founding fathers. That was never the intention of the Constitution. And we wouldn't even be having this fight right now if not for that damn 17th Amendment. So now we have to decide. And I'm going to say this again. If you get rid of the 60 vote threshold, then it only takes a 51 vote majority to put it back. Nobody talks about that part. If you change the rules by simple majority vote, you can change them back by simple majority vote. So what have we got to lose? We are hurtling towards a cliff. The Democrats don't care. They've left us shut down for 35 days just in the hopes that they can keep the New Jersey governorship, that they can flip the Virginia governorship, that they can route it over on on the left coast when it comes to Prop 50. And put a communist in the mayor's seat in New York. What have we got to lose? Two things should have happened from like day one, like 12:03 a.m. of shutdown day. Donald Trump should have sent in the Red Pen Brigade to start cutting everything. They're like, okay, nothing's been funded, so guess what? This can go, 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 this can go. And then when everybody started screaming and yelling after we got all the cutting done, which should have only taken about a week or so to implement in the first place, they should have said, okay, let's get rid of the filibuster and open everything back up. But they didn't. Instead, we've been in limbo for 35 days. And I get it. A lot of the older conservatives on my side of the argument are screaming that we can't do this. But why not? Because they're already going to. They've already told you everything they're going to do if they get in power again. They already told you they're going to expand the court. They're going to pack it. They're going to get rid of the filibuster so they can ram everything through. So do we trust them with that power first? Or do we trust our side with that power first? That's my only real question when it comes to all this. Do we trust them with that power first? Or do we trust our side with that power first? BZ, you're being a downer today, sir. All right, we're going to take a break. My name is Rick Robinson. This is my show. You're listening to us live on KLR Radio. Again, we do this thing every Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And I will not most likely be on the Manorama panel tonight because I'll be working the Twitchy Live blog for election coverage. So pray for me. Be right back.
To the Capitol steps, Rick's calling truth, no time for regrets. Fire in his voice, facts in his hand, talking sense to the heart of this land. Shut the lights down in the city, say the system's on the ropes, while the same hands that broke it hold your paycheck and your hopes. They'll sell your sweat for silver, call your sacrifice relief, but every drop of truth we bleed writes another line of belief. Freedom isn't free, it's carved in blood and fire and stone. It's the price of stand tall when they tell you to kneel and go home. They can lock up every promise, tax the air we breathe. They'll never chain the hearts of those who still believe. 'Cause freedom isn't free. They preach peace from marble towers while they fence off your front yard. They wave a flag made out of rules and call OB idiots and the cowards of the age. They can bury us in silence, but the truth still screams. Freedom is unfree.
And no, you are being a downer, sir. Mostly kidding. But yeah, no, I get it too. I get it. It's frustrating because just a couple of weeks ago, we felt like we were riding this wave and didn't have to worry about Democrats ever again. And now they've managed to somehow steal some momentum from somewhere. I don't even know where they found it, but apparently they found it. Anyway, so we're back. We're live. All right, so we've been talking seriously about nuking the filibuster. What if I told you we didn't actually need to nuke it, though? Does anybody remember what the filibuster used to be? For there to be a 60-vote threshold, what had to happen is somebody had to basically declare a filibuster and stand there and talk 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 and talk. And the only way to get them to shut up until they ran out of gas was to get it closed with a 60-vote threshold. But the other way the filibuster always ended was when they were out of gas and they sat down. That was it. It was over. And then everything went. The 60-vote threshold used to only be reserved for very specific things like going to war. So we're acting as if this is some sort of vaunted policy. It's not. The filibuster and the 60-vote threshold rule were used for very specific things until they weren't. And then all of a sudden, our Senate got lazy, and all they had to do was basically roll over, hit the snooze bar, and yell filibuster, and go back to sleep. And that's all they had to. That's all they have to do, and it's all they've had to do for a very long amount of time when it comes right down to it. So instead of doing away with the filibuster, why don't we reinstate the original rules to where if you can't, whoever calls for the filibuster, and I don't mean the party that calls for it, I mean the person who says I oppose this, has to go stand in the Senate well and talk forever if they don't want it to go to a vote, and if they can't get to 60 votes to stop it. Because then one of two things happen. Either there's a 60 vote to close it, or eventually dude is left a slobbering, sweating, exhausted heap on the floor and can't keep going anymore. And then it's okay, now let's vote. And it's a simple majority. And that was the way it was for hundreds of years. That's the way it was for hundreds of years until recently. In recent history, the entire way we use the filibuster has changed because now it's filibuster everything. All the things, all of them. Doesn't matter what it is. 60 votes, 60 votes, 60 votes, 60 votes, 60 votes, 60 vote. Can't get anything done without 60 votes, which guess what? When we keep sending gridlock back to DC means nothing is ever going to get done. You know what? I don't even care anymore. If you want to finish us off, send 61 Democratic senators to Washington, D.C. so we can just put a knife in this thing, stick a fork in it, and be done. I've had it. Just a little over 45 days ago, someone was assassinated for trying to communicate with the left. And now, for some reason, the left seems like they're picking up all the momentum. Are you kidding me? What did their plan work? Is everybody shutting up? Is everybody running off to hide? Is that what's happening? Because I don't understand this. You have an AG candidate in Virginia who wants his opponents and their children and their spouse dead, but somehow the Democrats apparently seem to be picking up all the momentum. But then again, let's think about where this momentum is supposedly coming from. The polls with NBC showing Democrats up 8 in the generic ballot is bullshit. I'm sorry, it is, and I need to do something because I realized I haven't done it yet today. We're falling for the same thing that we fall for every single time. Every single time.
The program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
We let the lamestream media tell us how to feel about crap. Why is it that even on our side, we haven't learned that lesson yet? How is it that on our side, we haven't even learned that lesson yet? How is it that not every single Republican in New Jersey is motivated to go out and vote to change things for the better? How is it that every Republican in New York City isn't motivated to go out and vote to try to change things for the better and to stop a communist from becoming your mayor? What do we have to do? What more can I do? What do I have to talk to you about? What do I have to explain to you to make you understand exactly how dire of a situation we are in? And I don't even know how we got here. Because 2 weeks ago, we were all laughing and joking about how there was never going to be another Democrat in charge in Washington, D.C. for the next 30 years. And now here, all of a sudden, is, well, everything's starting to trend blue again. We don't know when it happened. We don't know how it happened, but suddenly everything's starting to trend blue again. You know how it happened? The fucking Democrats were allowed to hold our government hostage for 35 days, and nobody had the stones to do anything about it. That's how. The people that are dependent on them are going to vote for them every single time, and all they have been shown now is how dependent upon them they actually are. And what should be backfiring and blowing up in their faces is not. This should be a wake-up call to everyone in America that uses food stamps, and I don't care if it's $5 worth. Do something to get off of the damn thing so you're not dependent on the government. But those are bad things to say now, because then you're being mean to people and you're being harsh with people, and you don't understand, Rick. These people try their hardest to do all these different things, and you just don't know how hard their life is. The hell I don't. You guys know some of what I've been through. I could be sitting here collecting government checks right now. I choose not to. Because do you know how much harder it would be for me to do these kind of things if I was collecting a government check? Because guess what? When they figured out I was speaking out against them, hey, you know that check you like to get every month? We're going to see what we can do to take that away from you. Hope you don't mind. Hope you don't mind. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting fired up. I didn't expect to be fired up today, but I guess I'm getting fired up today. All right, so let's see what other trouble we can get into in the final moments of the program. We got about 20 minutes left, so I'm sure we can find some more trouble to get into. Oh, so yeah, here's another fun one. This is from Cooper Williamson over at The Blaze. Texas DMV has allegedly been registering vehicles to illegal aliens. That's good to know. That's good to know. Was this one of the ones that has a damn lock on it and I missed it? No? Stop it. So Texas Rep. Brian Harrison delivers a formal complaint to the DMV amid road dangers such as non-English speaking foreigners behind the wheels of 18-wheelers across America. One Texas state representative claims to have discovered another abuse of the system, this time at the Department of Motor Vehicles. On Monday, Texas State Rep. Brian Harrison, Republican, wrote a letter to the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles demanding an investigation after his office received reports that illegal aliens were able to register vehicles despite their status. My office recently received alarming reports of illegal immigrants being able to register their vehicles in the state of Texas. To my shock, upon investigation, my office has verified that these reports are in fact real, Harrison said in the letter. Well, gee, I wonder why. People have to pay to register their vehicles. It's about the money, not about their status. But this is another part of the same problem that I'm talking about. The letter cites Texas Transportation Code Section 502.040B, which reads, the application must be accomplished by personal identification as determined by department rule. The letter alleges that the broad authority given to the department may have been misused. I am writing today to inquire what steps, if any, the DMV has taken and is implementing to determine whether the owner of a vehicle is a citizen or lawfully in the country before issuing vehicle registrations. The letter continues. On the condition that the DMV doesn't take prompt and efficacious action, Harris threatened to introduce legislation requiring the DMV to verify legal status before issuing registrations. Texas phased out temporary paper license plates on July 1 of this year, perhaps as a measure against fraud related to the problem Harrison identified and complained about this week. In his post, Harrison also emphasized the important role Texas politicians need to play in aiding the Trump administration. It is past time the Texas government starts acting like we are in a battle for the future of Western civilization, because we are. And I think that's going to be where I jump off for the rest of this, because it is past time that all of America realizes that we are in a battle for the future of Western civilization, because we are. And I feel like we are not doing enough about that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have Congress critters who are Islamist. We wouldn't have a mayor of New York City who's most likely going to be elected, who's going to be a socialist communist. And let's face it, with all of the push to either get him or Cuomo in, New York City's not going to be in a better position no matter which one of them wins. What happens when the financial district of the world, which basically is what New York City is, becomes the socialist capital of the world or the communist capital of the world? Communism and capitalism cannot exist in the same space. This is one of the reasons why our founding fathers were diametrically opposed to direct taxation. This was another reason why, for the longest time, insurance companies were frowned upon, because insurance is nothing but basically accepted communism. Everybody's paying into a system, and the companies are hoping they never have to use those monies. And if they do everything they can to fight them having to use those monies, whether it's car insurance, medical insurance, everything in between. This is nothing but a communal pot where money is put in. What is the root word of communal? Commune. What is the root word of communism? Commune. So we've let the wolves into the pen, ladies and gentlemen, and they've been here now for quite some time. And now, unfortunately, the wolves are starting to turn the day. Whether it's Islamists being elected into positions of power, whether it's the call now for, because of the number of people that speak a certain language, to have, patches in their language for police, etc. I'm sorry, that's not how any of this was ever supposed to work. We're not supposed to be the European Union South. They're the ones that have bilingual and trilingual everything. And I'm sorry, that doesn't work. A country divided by language cannot stand. I know I'm paraphrasing Lincoln there, but it's the truth. If we can't communicate with one another, we can't stand together. And the funniest thing about the guy who was opposed to secession, who then said, every single one of you are going to hell, and I guess I'm going with you, because of loyalty to the people, that even though he disagreed with them, he was willing to stand and fight with them. Where did that kind of loyalty go? And I'm asking that right now of even President Donald Trump, because he turned his back on a Republican mayoral candidate in New York City for political expediency. For the man who is screaming and yelling about loyalty from the rafters and how important loyalty is, to have none to a mayoral candidate who is a member of your party, the party that you have sworn to lead, while you are the leader of the free world and have sworn to lead that country too, I have a huge problem with that. Maybe I'm alone in that, but that's one of the things that has driven me nuts over the last 3 weeks, is just watching, slowly but surely, Donald Trump turning on folks like Curtis Sliwa, and also kind of sort of turning a deaf ear to Winsome Sears. He didn't directly endorse her. He said she'd be great, but he didn't directly endorse her. I guess he thought that would be enough. The other irony of this moment is seeing none other than Barack Hussein Obama strutting into Virginia, basically yelling this question: "Hey, where are the white women at? when just last year he was screaming and yelling at black men for not voting for the black woman. These people have shown you who they are over and over and over again, and some of you keep voting for them anyway. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to change that. I don't know what to do with that. I mean, and we're seriously talking about getting to the point where, Escape from New York is about to be a documentary, not a sci-fi movie. Because that's pretty much where we are, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. Because if this happens, everybody's going to be wanting to leave. All right. So remember how I said it wasn't just these guys, though? So remember, we're talking about the AG candidate who wants his opponents and his opponent's wife, his opponent's kids, all dead, dead. Make them all dead. Sorry, I'm semi-quoting. Like, I think it was a mob movie of some kind. But what if I told you there's more of this and it's happening all over the place? This is from Bob Hoge over at Red State. So leftist Montana city commissioner has been wishing his foes to die in the street like dogs. So we've seen some truly sick stuff out of the left in recent times. They've fangirled cold-blooded murderers, such as, suspected murderers, such as Luigi Mangione. They've celebrated the multiple assassination attempts of President Trump, and they've mocked the tragic and depraved assassination of TPUSA co-founder Charlie Kirk. But this Montana city commissioner candidate may take the cake in terms of reprehensible rhetoric, the kind we're getting all too used to these days coming out of the Democrats, like Virginia Attorney General candidate Jay Jones, who literally wished the death of his opponent's children, which, as we've talked about before, is utterly sick stuff. She's the candidate for Helena City Commissioner, and here she goes, sickly teeing off on freshman GOP Senator Tim Sheehy, warning for troubling language ahead. So I think there's a video for it, so I think I'm just going to play that instead of reading. So hang on.
Hi, this is Haley McKnight. I'm a constituent in Helena, Montana, and I just wanted to let you know that you are the most insufferable kind of coward and thief. You just stripped away health care for 17 million Americans, and I hope you're really proud of that. I hope that one day you get pancreatic cancer and it spreads throughout your body so fast that they can't even treat you for it. I hope that you die in the street like a dog. One day you're going to live to regret this. I hope that your children never forgive you. I hope that you are infertile. I hope you never manage to get a boner ever again. You are the worst piece of shit I've ever had.
Hang on.
Manage to get a boner ever again. You are the worst piece of shit
Oh my God. I thought she said that she hoped that nobody would ever be a donor for him again. No, she literally said, I hope you never get a boner again. Oh my God. This is like Karen times 11 on steroids. All right, let's finish this clip off because we're running out of showtime.
ever had the misfortune of looking at. And you don't serve Montanans. You serve your own private interests. All that you have done since you've gotten into power is do shit for yourself. God forbid that you ever meet me on the streets because I will make you regret it. Fuck you. I hope you die.
Well, she seems nice. Wow. 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 I got nothing. I got nothing. Well, BZ, so my question is, what do you suppose that we should do? Because I'll be honest, I got no answers. Other than flipping the switch, I got no answers. I mean, and if we're ready to do that, I guess it's time to discuss it. But I got no answers for any of this. I wish I did, because I would love to have answers. Because like I said, up until about 3 weeks ago, it seemed like we were going to be cruising our way to a midterm trounce, and all of a sudden the Democrats shut the government down. And even though polling seems to be showing that's not what's driving all of this that everybody's screaming and yelling about all of a sudden. It looks like the tides have changed, and I don't know where it came from. So I don't know how to fix it at this point. All right, so one more quick hit, and then we're going to round things out for the day because we are just about out of time. So, well, hang on, there it goes. So, and I talked about this a little bit on Rails last night, but we're going to close out the show with this one. So, remember when James Comey said that he had no idea what anybody was talking about his involvement with the whole Russia hoax leaks? So, according to some emails that have been found, not only did they show that he okayed the leaks, in some points he was even congratulating folks for making the leaks. So if there's anyone who should know a thing or two about malicious prosecution, it's former FBI Director James Comey, who helped engineer the corrupt investigation into Donald Trump over alleged, never proven Russia collusion. Now it's Comey himself who's on the hot seat and has been indicted by the DOJ on federal charges of making a false statement to Congress and obstructing a congressional investigation related to his 2020 Senate testimony. His alleged lie, he denied that he authorized anonymous leaks to the press about Hillary Clinton's classified email case and Trump's concocted supposed ties to Russian election interference plots. According to John Solomon over at Just the News, however, the DOJ has receipts, showing otherwise. I don't know why I made the P not silent there. Federal prosecutors revealed Monday that they have unearthed a trove of personal emails showing that then FBI Director James Comey openly talked in the days before the 2016 election that he expected to be working soon for President-elect Hillary Clinton and was being kept apprised by a top FBI aide on the efforts to anonymously provide information to the news media. So here's a bit of a clip about that from Just the News, and then we're going to start wrapping up the show. So hang on.
All right, let's get down to some big bombshell news that just moved a couple of minutes ago over at justthenews.com. We've been following the story of James Comey. He's indicted for lying to Congress, saying he never authorized any of his staff to leak to the media. And late last week, as we told you, he played the victim card. I'm being maliciously prosecuted because Donald Trump hates me. Well, today, the Kash Patel FBI and the lead attorney prosecuting his case, Lindsay Halligan, well, they responded, and they responded with a lot of evidence. What did they respond with? James Comey's own emails and his own handwritten notes. And what do they show? They show that James Comey was clearly aware that his top aide was providing information anonymously to the news media. Not only was he aware of it, he wrote in a private email, "Good job, my friend," actually congratulating him when Dan Richman, one of his top lieutenants, told him what he had just done with the New York Times. Yes, just like the indictment said, the story is about Hillary Clinton's email, so it backs up the government's case that Comey was authorizing leaks to through his staff to reporters concerning a Hillary Clinton case, just like they argued. But they went a little bit further. It turns out that when Kash Patel found those burn bags in that secret room where a whole bunch of FBI evidence was sitting, they found something special. Some handwritten notes by James Comey. What do those handwritten notes show? He appeared to be aware in September 2016 that of the U.S. intelligence intercept that Hillary Clinton had approved a plan to hang a fake Russian shingle on Donald Trump's house, campaign house. Now, that's important because the handwritten notes don't match with James Comey's testimony. James Comey told Congress, that doesn't sound familiar. I don't think I ever knew about that. He wrote about it in his handwritten notes. And finally, one will ask, well, why would James Comey do this? What was the motive? Today's emails that were just released in the court filing give us one other answer. He wrote to Dan Richman, his lieutenant, that he fully expected soon to be working for President-elect Hillary Clinton. That's right from the emails. So he was waiting to work for Hillary Clinton, and he thought that Hillary Clinton would be grateful for the way he did things in handling her email case. Uh-oh. That wasn't what the victim card I think James Comey was planning to play. But all of that emails, all of those letters, all those court filings, even the handwritten notes, we just posted them at justthenews.com. You can go check them out today. We'll have more of that breaking news all throughout the night.
That's what we call a quid pro quo, Clarice. Sorry, I was trying to do a whole Silence of the Lambs thing and blew it. Anyway, believe it or not, folks, we are just about out of time. Want to thank everybody for taking the time to hang out with us today. Had Denny in the chat, had BZ in the chat, had a lot more of you paying attention than chatting, but I will take that anyway. Don't forget, I will be back tonight, but over at Twitchy, helping with their live blog instead of doing my usual Tuesday night stuff. So don't forget, there will be a Manorama tonight. There will also be He Said, She Said. So come back tonight, 7:30 p.m. I'm sorry, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. my time. First for the Cocktail Lounge, then Manorama. And then also, like I said, if the Manosphere show isn't your thing, go hang out with BZ for 2 hours over in the saloon. Get your drink on. All right, that's going to do it for us for tonight, or for today, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, and we will see you guys when we see you. And I promise at some point in the next couple of days, I'll get caught up on all the archives because it's been a week and it's only Tuesday. Ugh. All right. Bye, everybody. Say goodnight, Grace.